I'm organizing with the Alliance for Quality Education project here in Brentwood, Central Islip, and the communities of Wyandanch. Today, the Alliance for Quality Education is holding 4 press conferences statewide, releasing a report evaluating state education departments' handling of the contracts for excellence. This report is the first of its kind. It doesn't specify one school, but it evaluates in general the process of the contracts. The contracts for excellence were created by Governor Spitzer to tie new funding to programs and policies that work for our children. For example, Binghamton's contract reduces class sizes from 23 children to 9. Here in Brentwood, it added 1 additional period of instruction. In 2007, the governor and legislature enacted legislation that commits the state to a schedule of 4-year increases in foundation aid. Foundation aid includes all aid outside of BOCES, transportation, and universal pre-K. For 2008, the projected increase in foundation aid statewide is $1.24 billion. Brentwood is projected to receive $18.49 million in 2008, and we expect this funding to be delivered. Our report shows that the contracts for excellence were beneficial and makes recommendations on how they could be improved. We anticipate on January 22nd, the governor's budget will include the $1.24 billion we're expecting, and an increase for Brentwood of $18.49 million. The report focuses on key critical issues that predict the effectiveness of the contracts. The key findings include targeting. The law states that the contracts are targeted to the students with the greatest educational needs. High-need students are defined as students with disabilities, students of low-income families, and English language learners. The contracts and the report shows that 75% went to schools with the highest needs students. As far as public participation goes, this year's districts were required to solicit public comment regarding the proposed contracts. 89% of the 55 districts under the contracts did not comply. The state education department did not adequately enforce this law, and we're hoping that for next year that they do, and that the voices of residents and the voices of parents are heard. As far as transparency and performance objectives go, the law requires that the contracts provide full disclosure. Parents should be able to walk into a school and get a copy of the contract for excellence. The information that the SED website has made available in general does do that, and we're hoping that transparency and these performance objectives will be available more easily. We hope that the state, and we expect that the state keeps its commitment to our children, and we're depending upon it. Right now, I'd like to introduce a parent from Brentwood, Darren Green.
Good morning. As stated earlier, my name is Darren Green, and I'm with the Alliance for Quality Education. I'm a board member. I've been a board member for a little more than 2 years. And I believe that every child deserves a quality education. This year, Brentwood received an historic increase in funds. However, the increase was only 20% of the 4-year made by the state. Our children need that additional 80% that was promised to us. The contract for excellence created by Governor Spitzer are designed to provide the students with policies and programs that will keep them on the road for educational success. Here on Long Island, underperforming districts like Central Islip, Wyandanch, and Hempstead receive increases, but they do not have to sign a contract. This must change. The children in this district need accountability too. The districts must require to be able to submit a contract. The committed funding is tied directly to the contract for excellence, which is why it's so critical that committing funding is delivered in full. We must have the second installment. Our children need that additional $18 million. The children of Brentwood deserve a quality education. Thank you.
Thank you, Darren. Next, we have speaking Tara Thompson from the New York Civil Liberties Union, National Chapter.
The state has a constitutional obligation to provide a sound and basic education to all children. The schools on Long Island that display patterns of failure that are as abysmal and distressing as those experienced by New York City children. We need school-based reform that identifies the failing schools, that assesses the sources of failure within each of these schools, that works with local school officials and parents and community leaders to develop a school-based remedial plan for each school and provides the resources, fiscal, pedagogical, and administrative, to implement each of these remedial plans. We must alleviate the inequities that exist in the educational system in our schools in Long Island. These politicians that are attacking Spitzer and his funding plans are playing political games that will perpetuate the too familiar cycle of discrimination and disadvantage. While they may win temporary political chips, it is Long Island's most disadvantaged children that will be paying the price.
Thank you, Tara. Next, we have Rosa Quiles from the Puerto Rican Coalition.
Good morning. I'm a member of the Puerto Rican Coalition for a Better Community based in Brentwood. I'm also a member of the Hempstead Hispanic Civic Association, and I'm a resident of Central Islip for 35 years. My daughters graduated from Central Islip. My granddaughters are now in the process. I am in favor of the state allocations for education, which demand accountability school districts through the Contract for Excellence, which directs funds to the types of programs and policies that will guide students to high academic achievement. It is about time that state senators realize that their mandate is not to ask for more money without a plan from each district as to how that money will be spent. And let me emphasize that as a well thought out plan or contract should not be in the hands of political science majors, but in the hands of educational professionals, which can assess the needs of students and then plan accordingly. It is about time that state senators realize that all school districts should have equal resources for children with special needs. This means taking into account respect for all children, because all children deserve the opportunity to be taught with the best resources available, low socioeconomic conditions notwithstanding. All children can learn. Professional educators know this truth. Our children are the leaders of tomorrow. We must not eliminate contracts for excellence because political rhetoric is used to gain leverage and political power to the detriment of excellence in education. Let us plan for our children through contracts for excellence. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosa. I'd like to acknowledge some of the elected officials that have joined us today. First, I'd like to acknowledge Assemblyman Philip Ramos.
Thank you. Thank you. I stand here in solidarity with the residents of this community here, calling for the funding that was promised to this school to be delivered. I have worked with the governor, and I applaud his efforts in the contract of excellence to provide not only proper funding, but accountability. It's our absolute responsibility to the taxpayer to provide a sound basic education and combine that with accountability.